Welcome back to the IBFP. Here's your host, Boxing News.
Welcome back, fight fans. Welcome back to another edition of Q&A, and we're just going to dig right into it. We start with Wasi Rahman. Wasi Rahman states, what do you actually think of Canelo not fighting in September anymore due to no opponents? I changed my opinion on having read everything and how I see it. Honestly, I feel Canelo's done at 160. He's talking Callum Smith. He's talking Kovalev. He's not interested in Triple G. Understandable. And Andrade for whatever reason. I think he's interested in Andrade. It's just the DAZN won't approve that. He's already reached out to Andrade's team to initiate talks, but it's stagnated because they couldn't go anywhere, because DAZN is only wanting Kovalev or Triple G. I think Canelo's direction is being charted somewhat by DAZN and somewhat by his own desires for legacy. So I don't think he's 100% done with 160. I think he wants to fight at 160. I think he's just looking for the biggest and best fights. He sees himself, and as the way most fans do, a superstar that's beyond just one weight class and one division at this point, a guy looking for the biggest challenges. I don't think it's an issue with him not fighting in September, although just like any other boxing fan, I was disappointed. Abdil Surkat says thoughts on Arthur Beterbiev versus Oslander Skodvik unification just announced. I'm very excited. I think that's a fantastic fight. Two world champions unifying at 175. These guys need to unify. There's too many title holders, too many champions, too many undefeated fighters, and all of these are fantastic fights. I think that'll be an excellent fight, possibly fight of the year. D. Jefferson states, is Teofimo Lopez hype or is he solid? And, I have to be honest and unbiased. Teofimo is 100% solid. He's not hype. He's a young guy. He's still somewhat of a prospect, but he's shown potential skills. Fantastic skills, actually. Soldier for God states, who is a good fight for Mikey next? I think a good fight for Mikey next would be someone at 140 pounds. I think that makes the most sense. I think he should have took the Maurice Hooker fight, but I don't think that, Mikey Garcia is looking for any fights on DAZN. Honestly, I think he wants to fight on Top Rank or PBC, and I think he's very selective about who he fights. I think he's looking for super fights to cash out so he can retire. And the reason why I feel that is because, he's already talking to Top Rank about Vasyl Lomachenko, and if he's talking to them about Vasyl Lomachenko, he wants to build a relationship for his promotional company. So I think Mikey Garcia could fight at 147, but I don't see 140 because I don't see any big names there. So most likely, I believe it'll be at 147 to get somebody where he feel like he can win and get a bounce back win, or he could possibly wait for Manny Pacquiao or Keith Thurman winner. Let's just keep it going. Tyrion Adams states, do you think it's possible for Charlo versus Andrade, then the winner gets Canelo? I think it's 100% possible. The problem is, will the PBC play ball? That's the problem with the PBC. These guys just don't want to cross the street. They don't want to negotiate with DAZN. They just make accusations as far as, hey, we'll fight this guy, we'll fight that guy. No contract offers ever get sent. These guys are not serious about negotiating, and so that's the only thing. Great question. Miguel Mojica states, Bud Crawford is a skilled fighter like Canelo. If Crawford can't get the Spence fight by early next year or a fight with top welterweights, I see Crawford with two options. First, vacate the WBO and work his way into the other sanctioning bodies ranking and become mandatory for a Spence fighter, Thurman. Or second option, move up to 154, 160 division, take on bigger opponents with his skill set, and he can compete in those divisions. Maybe a third option, and make fights with 140 pounders. Your thoughts? I think all of those are drastic options. I think Bud Crawford is best served at 147. I don't think 160 is in his future. Maybe 154, but even then, Bud Crawford's going to have to be a lot more defensive because those guys are massive at 154. But none of them really have the skill set of a Terence Bud Crawford. So that would give him an edge, but he'd have to be extremely defensive. I think at 147, Bud Crawford, if he can't get those fights, he's going to have to do what most people would have to do in this situation, is drastically overpay someone like a Danny Garcia, or Sean Porter, or Keith Thurman. All of these guys said they're not interested in a Terence Crawford fight, but for a gross overpayment, they might. You might have to offer these guys $15 million to get them in the ring, grossly overpay them, stop them, make a statement, and then the world will call for the unifications with Spence and everyone else. Sonny Valentine states, do you think it's possible that Canelo might be having a serious knee problem? I don't think it's serious. From all the information that I've read, I think it's serious enough to derail his training camps and cause him pain and slow down potential fight dates. I think it's serious enough to that point, and to affect his stamina, but I don't think it's serious enough to end his career, especially not at this point. I still think he has multiple years left in the sport. Or do you think it's him pushing back on the DAZN pressure with who they want to fight? I think that's also too. He's trying to show them that he has leverage and muscle, and since they only want the big fights, he's going to wait for the big fights. And so I think that's part of it. I think it's a power struggle within DAZN and Canelo, but I don't think it's a huge problem. I think it's just, these guys bargaining for leverage. Weather Day states, why does DAZN and ESPN only advertising Mexican and Philippine boxers? That's not true, because Terence Crawford is being advertised, Vasil Lomachenko is being advertised, and neither one of those guys are Mexican or Filipinos. Next one comes from Augustine Roque. If Stevenson fights Valdez next, I would favor Valdez. Is a battle-tested fight and fought with a broken jaw and will not quit. Valdez, what's your take? I think Oscar Valdez versus Shakur Stevenson is a 50-50 fight because of Valdez's experience and because of his power and because he's a relentless fighter, undefeated, showed a ton of heart. But then I think Shakur Stevenson, who normally wouldn't be considered a 50-50 fight with a guy of this level, is just because he's shown tremendous skill sets. And skill sets takes you a long way in boxing. So I think that's a very close fight. Maybe too early to call. The next one comes from Andrade. Errol Spence versus Herdt, who would win that fight. Previously I thought Herdt would walk Spence down and stop him, but after seeing what I saw from, most recently from Julian J. Rock Williams against Herdt doesn't look like the same fighter. He takes too much punishment, and he was pretty much beaten into oblivion against J. Rock. And so at this point, I would favor Spence over Herdt. But once again, unbiased as always, it's the IBFP. Please share, like, and you must absolutely subscribe.